Greetings and salutations. Today I'd like to talk to you all about Blackish Season 5, Episode 5, The Black Elites. One of the things that come with being an upper middle class black family is that there's not always a lot of you around, and it's a struggle that this entire family has been going throughout the whole, entirety of the show. Dre is always judging his kids about them not being black enough and they're not connected to their culture and all this stuff, and they're bougie, and now he's being accused of being bougie by his own co-workers and family members and such. So the big theme of the first half, or the first couple of minutes of the episode, is basically Dre, as well as the rest of the family, doesn't really get to mingle with a lot of people that are like themselves. So when Dre was shopping in the market a little bit earlier, he met this black elite club owner who owned something called the Premier Noir, I believe was the name of the club. And there's a lot of upper class black families, and their kids are involved. Everything is in there. Lots of seemingly great benefits. But Dre's a little bit reluctant of joining because, he grew up a little bit impoverished and he wasn't really invited to stuff like that as a kid. And he's like, oh, you guys want me now? You guys didn't want me back then. It's a little bit of bitterness. So he's a little bit reluctant in joining. But after a little bit of convincing from Bo, he decides to take it up, mainly just to benefit the kids. Before we really get into the Black Social Club, let's rewind back to Dre at the workplace, trying to convince his coworkers that he's bougie and not hood rich.
What is a bougie?
It's someone who starts to make a little money and then they think they're better than regular black folks.
Oh, well, which part of that is not you, though?
And I found this scene fairly interesting because they're just trying to explain the definitions of like bougie and hood rich. And of course, it's all the joke, but they're kind of, playing around on saying like, kind of bringing like positive connotations around hood rich. And I'm not quite sure if hood rich is even like a positive, you know, thing. And I'm not quite sure they even say that in hip hop like that anymore. But I mean, I don't know.
Not bougie. If anything, I'm hood rich.
Fascinating. So,
Maybe it's a thing and I'm out of the loop. Comment down below and let me know if people still say like hood rich or something. I don't know. And also, if you guys agree with these definitions of bougie and hood rich. But nevertheless, it was a pretty funny scene, and it kind of played into the meeting he was having with his other black fellow executives during the social club, where he's talking about having to always explain black culture to his coworkers. So it kind of plays into that plot line as well. So I think it wasn't meant to be taken too seriously. But I'm just like, why are we giving the masses inaccurate terms of whatever. But Dre seeks to be hood rich because he believes that is not abandoning his culture. And of course, ends up overcompensating as he usually does. Despite the overcompensating, Dre still gave in and decided to take the kids and Bo and all that to the Black Social Club Premier Noir. Despite being reluctant at first, as soon as he got to that social club, he connected with everyone. He went to the same college as the guy that apparently runs the place, and they shared some similar stories about their past, and it was awesome. He was making business connections. He was appreciating people's style. He was just like, I should say he was no longer feeling like an outsider for the first time in so long, since I'm assuming his college days. Plot B involves Junior trying to give Grandpa the perfect wedding. Nothing too scandalous or crazy going on there. It's very wholesome. Junior is simply just trying to give Grandpa a great wedding that he's involved with. Nothing more, nothing less. It's great. It's wholesome. But moving back onto plot A, Dre is in love with this social club and he's telling everybody about it. Well, mainly just his coworkers because we don't really know many of Dre's friends. And his only black friend, Charlie, smacked the shit out of this dude after he figured out that he joined the one thing he claimed not to be. All that nonsense leads to this beautiful gem of a
Bougie Black
scene
Social Club.
I changed my mind.
that is hilarious.
You up, Charlie?
But Charlie wants in, and Dre is a little bit hesitant. However, with a little bit of convincing from Bo, he decides to get Charlie a day in, and they decide to go out and go golfing. Unfortunately, it didn't seem that Charlie got the memo, and he came in with like a wife beater and like some freaking. It was looking like a mess. He didn't look very professional, and he kind of came off with a bad first impression for Premier Noir. However, he killed it at golf, and Charlie is a little bit silly. He has his quirks or whatever, but he's a pretty fun-loving guy. He's pretty comedic, and he won over the other guys at the country club. And it helped that he was like freaking Tiger Woods at golf. Dre was a little bit skeptical of Charlie at first, but after that performance, it's all he needed. And he went in and asked the Black Elite owner, hey, can Charlie join Premier Noir? And of course, Charlie gets rejected. And Dre is kind of confused. He's not really confused why. He gets it. Charlie doesn't necessarily fit the image. And he rides for his homie. And it's like, all right, man, if you're not going to let Charlie come in, I'm out. Peace, deuces. And, he rides for his boy. And I respect that. It's pretty cool, pretty noble. And I like that from Dre. So, what do you guys think about the decision that Dre made? Was it unreasonable for him to request that Charlie join the club, even though knowing that Charlie didn't really fit the whole image of the club? Or do you think that Charlie, well, this is my opinion. My opinion is that Dre thought that Charlie has his quirks. He's not perfect, but he has potential. And if the country club was in the business of building up black people instead of like, tearing them, only picking the cream of the crop, there would be room for even further growth within the community instead of only picking people that don't really even need the further, connections. So Dre's over the Premier Noir, Bo's over Premier Noir, and the kids don't really care enough to put the effort in to stay in Premier Noir. So unless they stick with the threat that Bo gave them a little bit earlier, everybody's pretty much done with Premier Noir. So that pretty much wraps up the Premier Noir plotline, and a valuable lesson in values and integrity was taught. And we know that Dre has those, not just Bo. We saw it like 2 episodes ago with her sticking up to her friend who owned the feminist group or led the feminist group or whatever. Overall, I really enjoyed the episode, especially more than the one last week. Mainly because I feel like this episode was really focused on something. How the black elites operate, and how, it's not necessarily better than any other elitist group, especially if you're not willing to, like, build up others. You only accept them when they're already at their peak or nearing their peak. You know, you gotta help build, and you know, and I really liked how they covered that. That was entertaining. It was heartbreaking that Dre had to give up something he really felt so attached to and close to. But, you know, sometimes morals trump all, you know? So that's what they decided to stick with. And appreciated that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the episode as well. Let me know what you guys thought down below in the comments. And I'll see you all on the next Blackish review.